Hello, this is Angela with Permaculture. I'm in the Hoyt Arboretum today in downtown Portland. I often come here on Fridays to hike. My kid works downtown just a couple of minutes away, and so, instead of her catching public transit, I'm like, I'll just drive you and then I'll go hike for 3 hours and then pick you up from work. She has a short shift on Friday, and we'll go home together. And so I love to hike here, especially on hot days. It's in the 90s today, and there's so much here that's shady. I'm in the redwood part. I have a whole video on the Hoyt Arboretum if you want to know more about it. It's one of my favorite places in Portland. It's free. You can pay $4 to park, or you can park on the side of the road for free. On hot days, there's like nobody here, even in the summer, so I never have a hard time getting street side parking. So I usually hike and I listen to a podcast, and sometimes I film videos, and I often will come through the Hoyt Arboretum and like take note of some of the design elements, or go through and look at plants that are, kind of at their peak. Arboretums are basically a collector's dream when it comes to trees. It's like a tree zoo, right? Trees and shrubs. And there's some ticked off chipmunk back there. So today's Hausfrau Friday, right? So I normally talk about domestic things, including hobbies and skills. And I wanted to talk about something that I recently purchased and have been using on my hike today. And it's been a really valuable tool and has improved my hiking experience. So again, like, I'm often taking note of what's going on around me. I'm often looking at the plants and the relationships between the plants, and coming and paying attention to, like, okay, this is the time of the year when I really want to be looking at the dogwood collection, or I really want to be going and looking at the spruce collection. Today it's just really hot, and so I'm just hiking to hike and stay in the shade. So I'm picking really shady parts of the Arboretum. So my focus is not so much on the botanical aspect, is more the like exercise and zone out aspect. And I'm listening to a book, and as always, I will link the book in the description. But I'm also knitting. I often knit while I hike, and I usually in the past have used like a drawstring bag that I made out of a scrap of fabric, and that's a little bit hit and miss. So it tends to twist while you walk, and you get this kind of tangle of the string that attaches to your belt and the yarn, and it gets all twisty and it's kind of a mess. But I've still used it for years and years. Recently, Casey and I were on a trip to Hood River, and we went to a yarn store, and I saw something that is made by a local seller, and I thought this is going to be perfect for knitting while I hike. So let me show you real quick. So I bought a little carrier for my self-pulling yarn balls, also called yarn cakes, and I really like it. This is the bag that I used to keep my knitting in, and the yarn ball would get tangled up and twisted. And here you can see my knitting project, and I'm hoping this little holder will work out well. So today is my first day testing it out. Let me show you how it fits together. So here's my skirt, here's my belt. I usually wear a leather belt, but today I have a fanny pack because I don't leave anything in my car. Here it has a nice little leather strap, and then you unhook it here. So this wool was given to me by my friend Phoenix, and I don't know the brand. I do remember that it's like 80% wool and a mix of other things. It's really soft and lovely blue, and it's gonna make a great shawl, and she gave me 2 skeins of this. So, okay, so you have your leather strap, you unclip it, and then you wanna take your yarn cake off. You have to use a yarn cake for this, a regular ball won't work. And I have noticed when you wind your yarn cake, whoever did this did kind of a mid job, and the middle was really tangly. So you wanna make sure that you're pulling neatly from the middle, and that it's wound carefully when you put it on your ball winder. So I'm gonna take this off. And you can see what a beautiful pattern it is. It came in a variety, all kinds of different patterns, but obviously as a beekeeper, this is what I wanted. Just beautiful, laser cut and then painted. So it just comes apart for storage. It all lays flat. It's just these 3 pieces. That's the whole kit. I think I paid $45 for it, and I'm absolutely a sucker and will pay way more for something locally made, which this was. Supporting a small business, I'm absolutely going to go out of my way. If something looks neat and useful, I will support a small business. So again, you just slide the 2 parts together. Slide your yarn cake on. You want to make sure that it is through the middle and you're doing it carefully. through the middle, kind of reach my finger in to find the middle like that. And clip it on. This is a little bit of a like that, and that's it. Okay, so first off, shameless underconsumption core. I made a video actually here at the Hoyt Arboretum a while ago where I talked about cutting up and downsizing some shirts that my sister gave me, and this is the finished shirt. So it now fits. It's a little bit loose. It's a great sun cover up. I often wear long sleeves on hot sunny days, so I don't have to wear sunscreen on my arms. And so, yay, free shirt. It required completely disassembling the entire shirt, including the sleeves and resetting the arms, but it fits great now. This is a skirt I made 25 years ago. Because I have had 4 children and all of that jazz, this skirt I have actually had to sew a little panel into it. I don't know if you can see right here. Okay, so here's what it looks like in action. It swings and it twirls, and that way you can continue to unspool and use the yarn. So the downside is, where do I put my yarn? If I need to stop knitting to take photos, where do I put my yarn? So that has necessitated, let's see if I can get this to cooperate. So that has necessitated for me still carrying a bag to put the work in progress in itself. So this isn't a perfect solution because I have to have something to carry this, but it does mean that the actual yarn cake can freely spin and unravel and doesn't get tangled up with my knitting or with the bag itself. See, the shawl is just stockinette right now. Nothing too fancy. It has an increase on either side of the center stitch, and then also on the edges you're increasing on each edge. It is slip one, knit one, yarn over. So once I get the triangle shape built out for the shawl, the bottom is going to be, it'll be out here, is going to all be a big lace border. I often like this part of the shawl, if I want it to be warmer, to just be stockinette. It also gives me something really easy, kind of mindless to work on when I am hiking or when I was on the airplane, etc., etc. I don't have to count stitches. I don't have to look at my knitting at all. I can do it almost 100% by feel. Because I am doing it by feel instead of by look, I do put a stitch marker right before the center stitch so that I know where I should be increasing without having to pay attention. That's how I can hike and knit at the same time. So for those of you that wonder, like, how do you knit and hike at the same time? I learned how to knit when I was 19 and I'm 45. So a couple months after I learned how to knit, maybe even just a couple weeks, I, as a college student, would take my knitting with me to the campus theater, and I would knit in the dark in the theater. And very quickly I learned how to knit without looking. So as long as I'm doing something simple, it's not like complicated lace work or complicated color charting, I can do it without looking. And I prefer to do it without looking, right? I find that it's a very meditative process. It's fidgety, not really like stimming because I'm not autistic, but like it is a fidget process. It's a way that I have a lot of nervous energy. I often feel the need to be really productive, and knitting is a way that I can make gifts for people. I can make articles of clothing for myself and my family, and I can do something that otherwise might feel kind of decadent or like I realize this is maladjusted, but like I don't feel that I can justify the time to sit and watch a movie or sit and listen to an audiobook or even like go on a hike. Sometimes I feel like that's luxurious and it's hard for me to give myself permission to do that. And so knitting is a way that I can kind of trick my overproductivity brain into saying like you're producing something worthwhile while you are relaxing or enjoying yourself. And that's kind of a workaround for me so that I can enjoy rest time or entertainment time more. In permaculture, we say slow, small solutions. Sometimes the most low-tech option is the best. It often is the most resource conservative, and it can sometimes be the most efficient and the most practical in many ways. And for me, like this is such a great investment because I knit so much. Felt good to support a small local business and add a little tool that makes my hiking and knitting kind of duo combo, makes that more enjoyable and fewer tangles, and I really enjoy what I'm doing. So also, quick tip here, if you're knitting on a hike or you're knitting at the beach, bring a knitting project where you don't have to put a ton of focus into it, but also bring a knitting project that is washable and you don't mind getting it dirty, because on this ground here that is littered with pine needles, I, as a clumsy person, will inevitably drop my knitting. Or if I'm knitting at the beach, you'll inevitably get sand in it. So always bring something to work on that's an easy washable project, and that way I don't get frustrated. I also have to say, here in this part of the hike in the arboretum, there's often resin, conifer resin, sap everywhere, and it's very sticky. It smells wonderful. There's a bunch on this bench I'm sitting on, and I sat my knitting down and got some on the needle, and I was like, oh crap. You can't really wipe it off very well. If you wipe it on your clothes, you'll never get it off. But soap doesn't work very well to get it off. But I have found one solution, because I live in the Pacific Northwest and you deal with resin on various parts of your body frequently, is that sunscreen takes it off. So I have a lot of sunscreen on my face and my neck, and so I just borrowed some and rubbed it on the needle here, and it helped me get the resin off better. Just your plain fingers, your fingers will get real sticky and tacky, and you can't wipe it on your clothes either. So something oily helps remove it. So if you have nothing else, use sunscreen. I'm gonna keep hiking. My goal is typically to do between 3 and 4 miles while I'm here before I have to go get B from work. I hope that you are enjoying your Friday, you're staying cool. I hope that you are able to stay cool this weekend, and I'll be back real soon. Here, this is where I'm sitting and knitting. I have to keep pausing filming because people go by, and I want to be conscientious not to film random strangers trying to live their lives. But as I'm sitting here, I'm really enjoying knitting. There is a huckleberry here, and there has been a little wren in it. I scared it opening my selfie stick to film. There's been a little wren hopping about in here, and so I've been knitting and watching that wren have a good old time defending his territory. You can always tell wrens because their tails stick straight up, and they often flick their tail. Well, I can't really do it. Like from the butt, they flick their tail like this. So you can tell a wren versus a sparrow or some other kind of small songbird, because they have that very vertical tail. In a former life, ornithology was my specialty, so I'll just flex on that for a second. Up at the red huckleberries. Not ripe yet. Still cool looking.